Welcome to Safe Schools Rainbow Roundtable. It's Tuesday, June 25th, 2024, and happy Pride Month. This is a special 4-part series at the Rainbow Roundtable on queer grief and how this affects LGBTQ+ youth and students. This very important topic is part of Safe Schools' commitment to stand up for queer youth and help navigate some of the most important issues they face in these challenging times. I'm Dr. Dan Sheridan, head psychologist of No Reservations. Joining us today for our discussion is the Director of Programming at the Children's Bereavement Center, Julissa Reynoso, podcaster and social media expert, Tiffany Williams, a member of the LGBTQ+ community, faith leader and pastor at United Church of Christ, Fort Lauderdale, Reverend Aaron Lauer, school educator, Kyle Summer, and Chief Operating Officer of Safe Schools and Pastor Harold Marrero. We thank our partners that help make the Safe Schools Rainbow Roundtable possible, including the Quadracci Family Foundation, AHF, and the Florida AIDS Walk, Children's Trust of Miami, and Hotspots Magazine Happening Out television network. With all of these talented individuals, let's consider queer grief and what the future holds for LGBTQ+ youth trying to survive and thrive in our world. As we conclude our discussion today, we'll explore a hopeful future where queer grief is shared and held within communities that are curated to care for individuals throughout their lives. These communities can take many forms: faith-based groups, chosen families, or even specially designed networks that reflect all aspects of our humanity. Imagine a world where grief is not an isolated experience, but one shared and supported by a compassionate community. In such communities, we see the importance of intergenerational dialogues that foster shared wisdom and support among queer kinship. These dialogues allow for the exchange of experiences and knowledge, helping to bridge the gap between different generations and creating a stronger, more resilient community. One of the best things we can do as individuals is to learn how to become more self-differentiated. Self-differentiation allows us to open space in our hearts and minds for others by freeing ourselves from the toxic elements of problematic families and friendships. It's about loving ourselves, not selfishly, but in a way that makes us aware of what holds us back from authentically connecting with others. This awareness enables us to be vulnerable and to hold space for others going through grief, even when that space feels heavy and sad. Communities that nurture self-differentiation encourage individuals to explore their identities and emotions fully. This exploration leads to deeper connections and a more profound understanding of one another. It also empowers individuals to support each other through all of life's challenges, including grief. So to our panelists, how do you see communities evolving to better support queer individuals through grief? And what role does self-differentiation play in creating these supportive environments?
That's a great question. And recently, as I was doing a kind of like a get-together that was supposed to be like a worship service for a church, and something that I realized as I was, I wrote something that for people to read and for us to go through it together, and it was about forgiveness, and it was about moving into a state of forgiveness. But then after the service, I sat with it. I'm like, that didn't feel good for me, because I realized that for so long I grew up in a church environment that wanted me to move very quickly towards forgiveness. Wanted me to move really quickly away from my anger, wanted me to be pacified. And I think that many aspects of particularly Christianity that do that. They want you to move into that state, go quickly from A to B. And as I was thinking about it later on, I was like, that felt gross, because there are some things that people just cannot forgive, and they shouldn't forgive. They can forgive themselves. They can have enormous sense of love for themselves, but there are some things that you just can't really get past, and you shouldn't get past, and you shouldn't try to seek reparations with whoever hurt you or whatever happened to you. And that was a huge wake-up call for me, because I was like, as I continue this process to try to create community for people, I want to create a community that allows people to just sit there with their grief, with their anger, with their sense of not being able to forgive yet or ever, and that's okay. And find ways that to support them so that they can feel love, so that they can feel their own internal love and internal forgiveness, or internal liberation from anger, but also affirm them and give them that space. And I think too many times religious organizations and even families, they just want you to move on. They just want you to like get better at all costs. And it's like, yeah, but it takes time. And I feel like community should do better at that. Should be better at sitting there and allowing people to just sit.
What does get better even mean?
Right. Yeah.
What does that mean? People go through a lot of trauma, a lot of grief, and that changes you. It just really changes you. You are no longer going to be the person you were before. And for a lot of grievers, they really, I just want to be what I was before. I want to go back, a lot of times people say, I just want to go back to normal. What does that even look like? You have experienced a traumatic loss. It's okay that it has changed you. And now you just have to know what that looks like moving forward, what you want it to be. I think it's very powerful when people take that and they make something amazing. I have seen our grief group participants at the Children's Bereavement Center really go into volunteering, because maybe the person that died of cancer. Now they're helping those who are in cancer. Maybe they delve in more into their spirituality and they want to help other people in that way. So there's many ways to move forward with that, but to getting better, it just stayed with me, like you just said. Thank you for sharing that, though.
I think that's even the biggest thing is like, how do you quote unquote heal during that grieving process? And for some people that might be, talking to somebody. It might be, volunteering, like you mentioned, or diving into, an artistic endeavor, or even going to a rage room and just breaking stuff and having that moment to experience those feelings, to let it have its moment, and know that in grieving and the process of grieving, you might be, great one day and you feel like, oh, like things are starting to get better. And then all of a sudden somebody gives you, a bar of chocolate that was a person who passed away that used to give it to you all the time. And then all of a sudden you're like crying with a bar of chocolate in your hand. Like it's something that's silly, but like, well, not silly, but like something would seem so small that could bring you back to that moment, to live in that moment. And I think a lot of people, I agree that they just want to tell you like, oh, just get better. Like, you'll get through it, but like, you can't be there the whole time. And it's like, emotions don't understand the premise of time. They need to exist. So the more you keep repressing them, the more they're just going to get intensified until the point that you're calling out for a whole week because you're like, I can't do this right now. You can't do that. So being able to have multiple different tools to express that grief is so crucial, not just to like adults, but also to like teens and children that are going through that. And also to not invalidate the kids when they say, I'm angry or I'm sad or I'm going through it, and not being like, you're a kid. It's like, yeah, a kid in this 24th century, like, is really hard, really difficult. And it's just letting people to have that space, to allow that space to be there.
I think that speaks to the lack of comfort people feel around grief and the topic. And so we really do provide a lot of, at CBC, we provide a lot of education, not just for professionals, but also to the community, right? And what are some healing tools, or what are some things that you can really use yourself in helping a person that's grieving.
I think such an important piece of this is that the desire to fix grief often stems from one's own discomfort with grief. When you move to, let's just move past this, let's just hear some strategies, let's just move forward, the person themselves are struggling with their own maybe historical grief, their own emotions surrounding loss. And the best thing to do is to be with someone, to sit with them, to say, how can I support you? Not to give them strategies, but ask them what would be most helpful for you. Mm-hmm. And I think in the long-term way of helping people with grief and the community with grief, I like to think about, hurricane preparedness. June is upon us. We get our supplies, we get ready. We don't want to search for supplies in a panic moment. It's not going to be there. We're going to make bad decisions. So really preparation, like how can we partner with the Children's Bereavement Center ahead of time, know the resources that they have. What other auxiliary resources are there in the event that a church member passes away, a student passes away at school, that we're prepared and that we know what to say in the event of a crisis, that our grief is handled, that we're not overcome by our own loss, that our personal work has been worked on or in the process. So let's not react in crisis, but to be with people as much as we can.
Yeah.
So that wraps up today's session at the Rainbow Roundtable. It's been inspiring to hear about the potential for communities to grow and adapt in ways that truly support their members. As we look to the future, it's clear that fostering supportive, inclusive communities is essential. These communities not only provide comfort during times of grief, but also enrich our lives through shared experiences and mutual support. By engaging in intergenerational dialogues and cultivating self-differentiation, we can create spaces where everyone feels valued and understood. Let's remember that our individual journeys towards self-awareness and self-love are crucial. They help us break free from negative influences and open our hearts to genuine connections. This work, while deeply personal, has a profound impact on the wider community. As we wrap up today's discussion, I want to thank our panelists for their invaluable insights. Your contributions have been enlightening and deeply appreciated. And to our audience, thank you for joining us. If you're inspired by our discussions and the work of Safe Schools, we encourage you to subscribe and learn more about what we do to protect and educate queer youth, educators, and the modern families that make up America. Your support through donations or volunteering at events helps us continue our mission. A special thank you to our sponsors, the Quadracci Family Foundation. Led by Richard Quadracci, he has been a trusted friend to queer students and youth across South Florida, and the foundation is a unique supporter of the many, many issues that queer youth face in the hostile environment in Florida. A special thank you to our sponsors, the AIDS Healthcare Foundation and the Florida AIDS Walk. AHF is keenly aware of the special challenges queer youth and students face over HIV, healthcare, and mental health. The step up to those challenges by making Safe Schools a recipient of the Florida AIDS Walk, one of the largest queer-supported fundraisers in America. Children's Trust looks for new and innovative ways to support the youth and student communities in South Florida, and this program is proof positive of the goal, where you can hear the kind of conversation about queer students and youth like you heard from Safe Schools Rainbow Roundtable. That is made possible by the Children's Trust of Miami. And our special partners at Happening Out Television Network. A professional broadcast like this is not possible without their support. Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is the largest LGBTQ+ media nonprofit in America, and we are so grateful they are based right here in South Florida. All of these partners are instrumental to our endeavor to create a safer, more inclusive world for queer youth. Thank you for joining us on Safe Schools Rainbow Roundtable. Stay safe, stay informed, and keep advocating for inclusivity and equality. Until next time, keep shining your rainbow light in all you do. Thank you, and see you next time at the Safe Schools Rainbow Roundtable.